morning. Welcome to another 60 minutes with Mother Nature. Um, I'm excited to be here this morning again. Just to share some of what I've learned over the years, as well as to share some of what Mother Nature has revealed to me. Because as I said, that our school, Boston actually is an acronym for based on simple technologies of nature. That's what Boston is. And so, really and truly, Mother Nature is the real teacher, um, just like she has been over the years. She's the one that taught us, and she's the one that is teaching us. And it's pretty much the same role that our mother plays. Our mother is the first teacher, our mother is the first instructor, our mother is our first guide. And so this morning, there is so much that we can learn from her. Mother Nature has the ability to just lovingly, um, you know, gently, nourishingly just teach us and guide us. And so this morning, I have two plans that I want to look at. But, yesterday, before coming on this live, I felt this warmth and then this inclination or this internal communication. And I want to share that with you. And last time not last time, but a couple uh, videos back, I spoke about good morning, Annie Frederick. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, guys. Let me know where you're joining from. I want to welcome all the new persons that have joined our Telegram community. Yes, guys, we do have a Telegram community. That is where we have a closer community. It's called our Kinder Wellness Community. And the word Kinder means one family. So outside of these videos that I do, we actually do have a Telegram family where we actually come together and identify herbs and share and ask questions. And it's just a wonderful family. So if you're watching for the first time, I'd love to know where you're watching from. But I'd also love if you would be a part of our community. There's a link in the description of this video that I'm doing. All the subsequent 60 Minutes with Mother Nature, there's a link there to join our Telegram community. And so this morning, before we go into the herb walk, I really want to talk a little bit about something that was shared with me, something that was revealed to me. And so many times these things come when I'm dealing with persons, and sometimes they come, when I'm, dealing with different clients. And because one of the toughest job, and I'm going to link it back with her, because it's one thing to know the medicinal use of the herb. It's another thing to match the medicinal use of a herb to the tissue state, or the state that the body tissue is in, so that there can be wellness. And so what really happens is that after learning the medicinal uses of herbs, our ancestors were able to use that medicinal understanding that they had, and to now match that medicinal use to the need of the tissue, or I call it the tissue state need. So depending on what's happening in the tissue, our ancestors were wise enough to know how to match the need that our tissues had when it was in crisis to the medicinal use of the plant. So I'm going to talk about that this morning. We talk so much about herbs, and the last time I spoke about the fear. So but the Western uh, pharmaceutical cartel has done a great job in marketing mistrust and distrust in Mother Nature. They've done an excellent job. And that job that they have done has transcended not only our response to herbs, but it affects our overall understanding of Mother Nature and how nature works. And it also affects the way we approach our body. So let me give you an example. This week I was sitting down with, as I sat down with somebody, and as I was sharing with them, because guess what? Healing is very simple. It's very one thing I talk about nature. Why I love I love teaching from the premises of our ancestors is that from the premises of our ancestors, their teaching methodology is very simple. Sometimes it may even appear to be an oversimplification of what we would consider to be a complex issue in Western medicine. And so because of that, I love the way that our ancestors taught. I love it because it was verifiable even by the simplest member of the community. And so it's very simple to heal. It's very, very simple to heal what would be considered to be a complex issue. All right. So let me give you an example why, first of all, we think that that you know getting better is complex. Number one, we live in a society of labels. All right. So we live in a society of labels where diseases have been identified and labeled, and based on the label, there is a certain level of fear. And so because let's give it for example. So in the wisdom of our ancestors, they didn't identify disease based on any label. They just looked at the symptoms that were manifesting, and they looked at this tissue state. They looked at the state of the tissue. So for example, they didn't have to deal with the label of cancer. All right. So I want you to follow me. So in our Western society, we have labels like cancer and we have labels like common cold. In this society, and of course, you know that it's possible to have cancer and still have the symptoms of common cold. So we're not looking at it from a tissue state perspective. We're looking at it from the perspective of labels. And so if somebody heard that a family member had cancer, their response would be totally different from if they heard that their family member had a common cold. I don't know if you know where I'm going. And so the level of fear that is attached to cancer and the level of fear that is attached to common cold is two different level of fear, because one is treated very slight, which is the common cold, and if it is cancer, it has a higher level of fear, and because that is just because of the label. And so the fear is that this is the famous cancer, this is the great cancer. And so my approach is very different than if it was a common cold. With our ancestors, it wasn't really like that. They looked at the state of the tissue and they would go into nature and they understood exactly what needed to be done. And so the labeling system that we have in our Western society is one of the first barrier, is one of the first premise that has been created to control how we respond to disease, how we respond to disease. And so, but inside the body, because here's the body, inside the body, the label of cancer versus the label of a common cold doesn't exist. So as far as Mother Nature is concerned, curing or reversing cancer and reversing a common cold is no different. So Mother Nature doesn't see a difficulty in reversing cancer versus a difficulty in reversing common cold, because inside the body, based on nature, there's no difference between a common cold and there's no difference between cancer. And so even the herb that you drink, even the herb that you drink or even the herbal medicine that you take, when it is going to work, it doesn't say, oh, today I have a battle with the famous cancer, or today I'm gonna be working to remove cold out of this body. So those labels don't exist. And so the labeling system that we have that has been created, that we work with in terms of dealing with disease or in terms of dealing with ailment, is one of the first is one of the first premise that has been created to defeat to defeat us in our approach to reversing diseases. And so no, but while saying that, I'm not saying that cancer doesn't affect the body different. I'm going to go into that because I'm not trying to oversimplify any disease here. I'm just trying to help us to understand that from a natural perspective, from a nature perspective, the labeling system or the labeling approach that we have in approaching disease is not there. And so because of that, because what the labeling system has sought to done is that it has sought to create a hierarchy of fear as it relates to disease. And so there's this fear that is there, and that is what I want to talk about. So number one, what it has done is that it has caused us to have a fear towards disease. Now, I'm going to say something that is going to just maybe shock you, or it may cause you to just turn off your WhatsApp right now. But this is how we work. In natural medicine, this is how we work. This is how our ancestors approach it. Now, because of the hierarchy system and because of the fear that has been developed out of that labeling system, there is a natural fear that persons have for disease. Now, I want to tell you that your disease is not your enemy. Your disease is your friend. So disease is not your enemy. Disease is your friend. Now, if that's not enough to get you to turn off the screen, I don't know what is. So most persons they start to approach. Good morning, Kayla Queen. Good morning, morning. Where you from, Kayla? Where you watching from? So our first response in approaching this is, which is one way that the body talks to us, one way that Mother Nature talks to us, is through disease. So our disease is not our enemy. Brooklyn. So disease is not your enemy. Kayla, your disease is not your enemy. High blood pressure is not your enemy. Cancer is not your enemy. None of these, I'm not talking about natural disease. I'm not talking about man-made, artificially made disease. I'm talking about natural disease. So natural disease is one of the ways that the body talks to us. And I've talked a lot about how Mother Nature uses different tastes and it uses different textures in plants to warn us or to deter us from consuming a plant or consuming a certain amount of a plant for it to harm us. Now, in the same way that Mother Nature communicates to us through deterrence, being bitter, sour, unpleasant taste or unpleasant texture. Mother Nature also communicates to us through disease. So communication is not bad. Right? Communication is not bad. So what we have not learned is that we have not learned to interpret Mother Nature's communication to be able to determine the correct remedy in plants to apply. All right. So I want to talk to you because, as I said, the fear that we have for Mother Nature is not just as it relates to our fear towards plant. It even affects the fear that we have towards our body. So your disease is not your enemy. Your disease is your friend. In a minute, I'm going to tell you what your enemy is, what your real enemy is. Your disease is not your enemy. Your disease is your friend. So I'm going to give you an example. You're driving your vehicle and your vehicle runs out of water. So your vehicle runs out of water, and the mechanics will tell you what are the potential risks that are connected to driving a vehicle that has run out of water and is now overeating. But guess what? Your vehicle is equipped with a red light. And the minute the vehicle begins to overeat, and some vehicles have more than just a red light, some vehicles may have a red light with a beeping. And all of a sudden, so you don't know anything about vehicle, and all of a sudden, you start to see this red light come up with this annoying sound. It wasn't there before because it's a very annoying and pleasant sound. Beep, 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 beep. Red light. The car has just developed a dis-ease. All right, so the overeating is a dis-ease, and the way the vehicle communicates to you is through an annoying, beeping sound and a flashing light. Morning, Monica. And you are so annoyed. You are absolutely so annoyed of this flashing light and this sound. But here's my question. Wouldn't you prefer to deal with an annoying sound and a flashing light indicating to you or telling you that something is wrong rather than the overeating resulting in you losing your engine and losing your vehicle? So your vehicle, the maker of your vehicle, the manufacturer of your vehicle, morning, Hugh Roberts from Tobago, morning. Wouldn't you rather, the manufacturer of your vehicle has developed a mechanism in the vehicle to communicate to you, and that being an annoying and comfortable way, a way of communicating to you to tell you that something far more serious is coming or happening. That is how the body works. So the body has its own mechanisms of telling us that something is wrong. That mechanism that it uses to tell us that something is wrong is a dis-ease. Now, can you see how dangerous it is now when you see that system of communication as being your enemy? So this the Western medicine has taught us to hate dis-ease. Dis-ease is how the body communicates to us and tell us that something is wrong. So let me give you one example. And as I said, I'm going to tell you what our enemy should be. And what our enemy should be is not our enemy. And that's the problem. So you ate something that you shouldn't have eaten, and all of a sudden, you're having a diarrhea. That diarrhea is the body telling you that there is a foreign matter in the body. So what the body does is the body senses that there is something foreign in the body that shouldn't be there. So what it does is it gives the instruction to certain cells inside the gut to produce more fluid, because normally your stool would have a certain amount of fluid. All right, Monica. All right, I'm gonna talk to you. So, the body goes to work. The brain gives instruction to the body that, hey, there's a foreign invader in the gut, and normally you would supply an ounce of water to keep the stool nice and moist, but we've got to flush it out. So I want you to send 4 ounces of water or 5 ounces of water instead. The result is that your stool now becomes liquefied and the body is trying to flush that thing out. Now, you who don't understand how to interpret what the body is saying to you is so fixated and so focused on your diarrhea that you don't understand what a diarrhea is communicating to you. And I'm going to talk about some other conditions. Now, the fear that we have of this is what prevents us from being able to pay attention to the dis-ease, to understand what the body is saying to us. So just like how the body, just like how nature communicates to us through natural deterrents in plants to prevent us from being hurt, Mother Nature also tells us when something is wrong through our body. But what we have done is that we have developed a fear for that communication that the body communicates to us. And as a result, we are unable to learn anything from what the body is saying. So in our society, we have a society so fearful of dis-ease that at the first sign of a dis-ease, you're going to go to the pharmacy and you're going to get something to stop, prevent, or turn off the body from communicating to you. And so we have done this, we do this so quickly, and we do it so often that we are unable to interpret what the body is saying. Now, I don't want to forget this. So I want to say to us that if there's something that you want to fear, it should not be dis-ease. Our greatest fear should be our habits. Are you with me? Our greatest fear should be our habits, because most of the diseases that we have is because of our habits. If we can successfully transfer the fear that we have for dis-ease, if we can successfully transfer the fear that we have for disease to our habits, we would be better off. I see dozens of persons that come to me who don't even know. There are dozens of persons who come to me that don't even know that there is a difference between feeling better and being better. So there are persons who come to us and we see the problem, we know what the situation is. We give them the right medicine, we guide them as to the proper lifestyle, and within a week, because once you give the body the raw material, it goes to work. Because there's two things that the body does. The body does very well. It heals itself and it protects itself. So once you give the body the raw material, it goes to work. So you give the body the right raw material and the right conditions, and the body goes to work, and the person begins to feel better. Guess what most persons want to know as soon as they start to feel better? They want to know how soon they can go back to the habit that caused the disease in the first place. So the problem is not really in getting people better. Our problem is helping people to get rid of the habit that caused the disease. And so a lot of people don't know that when they come to us and say that they want to get better, morning cheer, see, a lot of people who come to us and say that they want to get better, we have to really sit them down after about a week of them feeling better to explain to them there's a difference between feeling better and getting better, and they didn't even know. And so it's almost subconsciously or unconsciously, it's almost unconsciously. Morning, Hagley. We are joined from Grenada. Welcome from Grenada, Hagley. It's almost unconscious that persons come to us and they say, "Oh, I didn't even realize that." So we gave you about you came to us with stomach acidity. Your stomach was burning you. You think it's a big problem. It's not a big problem. It's a simple problem to get rid of stomach acidity. It's a simple problem to get rid of kidney cysts. It's a simple problem to get rid of kidney stones, gallstones. It's a simple problem to get rid of inflammatory bowel syndrome, to get rid of Crohn's disease. It's a simple problem to get rid of swelling in the legs, high blood pressure, diabetes. All of these conditions are like super simple. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm telling you, it's very simple. All right. So, and I know this may be a discussion longer than now. Maybe we can carry this in the group. Because again, when I speak like this, I never want to give the impression that I'm oversimplifying anybody's health condition. And I also don't want to give persons the impression that I'm this phenomenal healer that can heal any condition. With all of what I'm saying, there are always exceptions, and there are always underlying conditions that creates an exception to what should be the norm. So, for example, as easy as it is to reverse cancer and to reverse these diseases, if you allow your body, if you allow your healing mechanism to become so weak, as simple as it may be, if you allow your body to become so weak, that simple action may not take place, which is what happened with most persons. Most persons' habits does not support the simplicity of healing. Let me say that again. Most persons' habit does not support the healing process that Mother Nature can carry out. Very simple. So if you're on, for example, an acidic diet, as simple as it is to reverse cold, let me say it another, as simple as it is to reverse the common cold, if you are consuming frequent and large amounts of dairy, the simplicity of reversing a common cold may not take place. Is it that common cold is that easy to reverse? No. It is because your body is in a state and a condition that does not lend itself to Mother Nature going in and doing what it is supposed to do. So, as I said before, your disease is not your enemy. Your disease is your friend. Disease is how the body communicates to you. So let's go through some of them. I want to talk about some of them. Then we're going to identify some herbs. So one of the diseases that the body used to communicate to us, I just spoke about diarrhea. So the body is telling you that there's something, and of course there's always of diarrhea, and there are different conditions that can happen for you to know that this is not just a simple diarrhea. There are other, So you have a diarrhea, a simple diarrhea, because of a bug or because of some form of bacteria. Once the body suspects that it's going to go to work, once it goes to work, it's going to seek to eliminate that foreign matter through a diarrhea. But guess what happens? You are so focused on the diarrhea that you want to stop the diarrhea. The minute you stop that diarrhea, that thing that the body was supposed to eliminate is still inside the body. And so because the body does two things well, the body heals itself, number one, and the body protects itself. Now, it's very important for you to understand that. Because a lot of what we call disease is, one, the body trying to communicate to us, and number two, the body trying to protect itself. So we talk about diarrhea, we talk about fever. The body suspects that there is a foreign invader, and that this, because the body is so intelligent, the body knows that this foreign invader is destroyed when the body reaches a certain temperature. So the body says, hey, I'm going to cook this sucker. So the body goes to work, instruction is given, and all this is happening subconsciously. Mother Nature is so phenomenal, so powerful. So the body goes to work, and when the body goes to work, instruction is given to the body to raise its temperature in an event to cook that bacteria. And that is what happens when we have a sauna. There are certain health conditions that we can easily reverse with a sauna. But the body has its own sauna system. It's called a fever. And the minute we see a child with a fever, our first response is, what do I need to take to stop this fever? That action is based on fear. It's based on you not understanding what the body is doing. So, again, we have to know when. So the body, and so again, there are some precautions. I mean, a normal fever should run for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks is good enough. So the body senses a foreign invader. The body goes to work. The tissues goes to work. and the tissues begin to adjust themselves and the body gets hot. So there's a fever running, and what the body is doing is cooking that bacteria. When you have a fever, it's actually an indication that your immune system is working, by the way. It's one of the first signs. And the first sign that the body is telling you is that you have a working immune system. Why would you want to turn that off? Why would you want to stop the beeping sound, stop the flashing light, and not resolve the overeating engine? Because if you find a way, so you could just put your head and just pull that wire that is connected to that sound and that is connected to that light. The light would be gone, the sound would be gone, but the engine would still be overeating. So that beeping sound and that overeating engine is actually your friend, not your enemy. That annoying sound that the vehicle is giving you, telling you that the vehicle is overeating, is your friend. It's not your enemy. You just need to learn to interpret. You just need to learn to interpret what the body is saying. So you have a fever. Once you have a fever, it's telling you that there's usually a bacteria or a virus inside. And usually bacteria or virus can only live at certain temperature. And so the body knows it. So what it does, it sets out to cook the bacteria, to cook the virus. And then guess what? When you understand that, then you also know when to go into nature based on the state of the tissue, which herbs to use to just resolve that fever. I don't see if you understand what I'm saying. And so we've got to learn to interpret what the body is saying to us. We've got to learn to interpret from Mother Nature what the body is saying to us. So we talk about diarrhea. So you fear the diarrhea. You want to take, what do I need to do? But the diarrhea is telling you that something is wrong. And of course, there are other things about the diarrhea. You know, does the diarrhea come with a cramp? Does the diarrhea come with bleeding? I mean, so many other things that can happen can also indicate to you and tell you what's happening. You're vomiting. Vomiting is another way that the body talks to us, tell us that something is wrong. But you are so fixated on vomiting. And as I said, none of these conditions that I'm talking about should be oversimplified, because if any of these conditions are left to run for an extended, protracted period of time, they can result in serious conditions. I'm not trying to oversimplify. I'm just trying to help us to understand that, number one, the fear that we have for disease we shouldn't have. Our approach is that our disease is our friend. Now, with a friend, you try to understand that friend. You try to understand that. So the first approach that you want to do is you want to be able to understand what the body is saying through the symptom. Because as I said to persons, that when the body seeks to communicate to you in a particular way and you shut it up, you know what the body does? Because the body heals itself and protects itself. The body is going to find another way to escalate its communication. And the body is going to find another way to escalate its communication, which is one of the reasons why so many persons have so many other diseases that are connected to what they have. Because here's what happened. You have a particular disease, you go to the drug cartel, they give you a medication that masks what the body is saying to you. So the body says, I have to find another way to tell you that something is wrong. So the body finds another way to escalate the problem. You go back to your doctor says, what? And it gives you another medication to mask that next communication. And the body finds another way to escalate and to communicate to you that something is wrong. And you go back to your doctor and the doctor finds another way to mask or to silence the communication. They haven't dealt with the problem. They're treating the symptoms. The symptoms or the disease is how the body is communicating to you. And so you have been trapped in a vicious cycle of the body escalating its means of trying to get your attention to tell you that it's wrong. And one of the final way, well, I shouldn't say the final way, but one of the most commanding way that the body speaks to us is through pain. All right. So you're going to ignore the slighter versions of the body communicating to you. Body say, okay, all right, I'll get your attention. So the body escalates its communication to you now in the form of pain. And so if you are going to work with the first conditions, you could bear it. You are going to school, you are going about. No, you've got to stop. But guess what? You've stopped when the body's escalation is at a crisis level. So pain or symptoms is the end stage of any disease, because the body is always talking to us far before that. Most of the time when we come when a person comes with a presenting health condition, it's really a final state of communication that the body is communicating. So it's a crisis. And so persons come to you in the state of a crisis. So for example, a lot of persons that are watching now, because they are not experiencing any form of symptom, any form of communication, they think that they're healthy, think that they're okay. I always tell persons, always try to go to your healthcare profession before you start to feel or experience symptoms, because it's so much better to help you at that point. And I could do a whole live on just that. But as I said, we're going to look at some plants. But I don't know if you're getting any value out of what I'm saying, but I really was led to share this with you because I want you to understand some of the misconception and some of the challenges that prevents us from being healed. And some of these challenges affects how we react to Mother Nature. So Mother Nature speaks to us through disease. Our enemy really should be our habit. And I mean, right now we have what is called habit-forming diseases. So diabetes is not caused by a virus, it's not caused by a bacteria, it's caused by a habit. High blood pressure. All right, thank you, Kayla. Yeah, so a lot of persons who have diseases is based on habits. So your habit is your enemy. That's it. Your habit is your enemy. There's a lady that came to us. She's in her 70s. She came to us. No, she wasn't in a wheelchair. Morning, Deborah. Morning. She came to us, and I can tell you about so many instances. So one of the last case was a lady who came to us being very, 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 very sick, loss of appetite. She was overweight. She barely could walk because her foot were so swollen. She was lethargic. She wasn't passing her stool. She had headache, backache, the whole 9 yards. And I mean, she was walking and she was in a state of health that most persons had come to accept that, oh, she's in her 70s. So, it's accepted. That's what is accepted and expected. She came and we did a retreat. So we brought her through a 10-day retreat. And after 4 days, because I mean, when we took her, her health was so bad that, because she was admitted for about 2 weeks in the hospital. And while she was there, the family member, because of their confidence in us, actually forced the doctor to discharge their mother and entrusted her in our care. And I mean, she has a lot of kids, loving kids, in Jamaica, outside of Jamaica. So they were calling. I think one of her son is a medical doctor that operates a facility in Los Angeles. And I mean, she has been there, mommy was sick. So she came and we brought her through the 10-day process. And after 4 days, oh yeah, one thing was that she was vomiting. Yeah, she was. The reason why they admitted her, our vomit, disease, our enemies, our symptoms, yeah. So one of the reasons why they admitted her was she was vomiting uncontrollably for vomiting for 2 weeks. So they admitted her because they had to give her fluid. So when they took her out, and they had her at our retreat facility, my wife said, she's vomiting. I said, okay, all right, no problem. We have a Contribo tincture because of the vomit and how the vomit looked, I know that her liver was in crisis. So I told them to give her some Contribo and then give her some Beta Quasia. And the same evening she got it, she stopped vomiting right away. No more vomiting. Uncontrollable vomiting for 2 weeks. Then I went and looked at her again. This live is for 20 minutes, 60 minutes, and I'm gone 40 minutes. I want to look at some plants. And so the vomiting stopped. And when I went to look at her, I look at her foot, look at her eyes, look at her tongue, and so on. You know, the body tissue was telling me what she needed. So we started treatment. 4 days after, she was able to walk around without a stick, because when she came, she was walking with a stick. Then their feet began to draw, and because she's going to be with us for 10 days, you know. In about 6 days, I mean, because she was roaming with somebody else, they couldn't believe. Everybody was calling and coming to visit. They could not believe. They said, "What have you done? What have you done?" I said, "We haven't done anything. All we've done is we've given her body what it needs, and it's now healing itself." And would you imagine that after all of that, after the first 10 days, she went home, she was following. And by the way, her blood pressure and her blood sugar went down to normal. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, her grandchildren started to call us to ask us how soon she can go back to her habit, because she's just on them. She wants to go back to her habit. As a matter of fact, the way she sounded is that she didn't care if she died. She just wanted to go back to her habit. That's how much of an enemy our habits are. So even though she felt better by changing her habit for about the 10-day process and another week, and she saw the results, she didn't even realize that she didn't want to get better. She wanted to feel better. So one of my caution that I if you're a wellness coach, or if you are into any type of wellness, helping people, it's a very important distinction that needs to be in your mind so that you can point it out to persons, because a lot of persons really genuinely don't know the difference between feeling better and making a decision to become better. And sometimes it's a whole difference between what are you going to do with your time, because a person may come to you in a chronic state, wanting to feel better, and they don't know, and they take so much out of you, only for you to realize that this person didn't want to get better. This person only wanted to feel better. The person who wants to get better really is willing to make that lifestyle adjustment and to stick to it and to continue it. So what I want to say, and so because of that, it's important that I identify the fact that a lot of persons don't know that their disease is not their enemy. Their habit is. If you can transfer the energy and the fear that you have for disease into your habits, you'll be far better. All right? And so there's a number of ways. So the body talks to us, and boy, I hope I can do this in 60 minutes. So a lot of persons have the fear for their disease. And I can tell you how diabetes is your friend. I can tell you how high blood pressure is your friend. All of these things are how the body communicates to us. This diabetes, cancer is your friend. And I'm going to touch that one. I'm going to touch cancer. So a high fever, diarrhea. Let me touch discharges. Discharge, you're having a discharge. Whenever there is any form of waste in the body is going to seek to get rid of it. And that is done through discharges. So you have discharges through your ears, discharges through your nostril, discharges to all the orifices, vaginal discharge, penile discharges. And so what the body is doing is that the body is getting rid of that fluid. The immune system goes to work. It collects all the bacteria. It transports it to the body's, what I call it is the lymphatic system is actually the body's drainage system. So it's our waste sewage canal. Our lymphatic system is the body's waste sewage canal. So most times the body, when the body is going to clean itself, it's going to now send that waste into the body's lymphatic system, which is the body's waste sewage canal, and the body gets rid of it. And so let's talk about the women. So you notice that you have discharge. There's healthy discharge and you have a bad discharge. Most of the bad discharges come with color and they come with odor. So that is telling you that there is pretty much an imbalance in bacteria, or an imbalance in the pH of the vagina. And rather than spending time to study the discharge, right away you want to get rid of it. You haven't even given your body a chance to teach you. We are so fixated on stopping the body from communicating to us that the body does not communicate long enough so that we can understand how to interpret it. That's one of the points I want to make. We are so fixated and we are so focused on stopping. So I said to the person, if you're feeling any type of pain, as long as it is bearable, don't be in a hurry to get rid of the pain, because the type of pain also tells you what's wrong. And this is the reason why so many persons go to their medical doctor and they are given wrong diagnosis, because again, the doctor diagnoses you to some extent based on what you tell them. So if you give them incomplete and inaccurate response, they're going to come to inaccurate conclusions and they're going to give you wrong medicine. Your health is your responsibility. So I wanted to talk about that because Mother Nature is just telling me that the fear that we have of her is robbing us, because my school, Boston Institute of Natural Medicine, means based on the simple technology or the simple principles of nature. Nature is our greatest teacher. We've got to give nature a chance. We've got to learn to interpret what nature is saying to us. And once we learn to interpret what nature is saying to us, then we will be successful, be able to match the medicinal use of a plant to the crisis state that our tissues are in, because that's where the real effect is. As a skillful herbalist or as a skillful healer, you're going to have to develop the habit, the ability to match the medicinal use of a herb to the crisis state that the cells are in. Because once you're able to match the medicinal use of a herb properly to the crisis state that your body cells are in, then that is what is going to bring healing. So you've got to learn now how to be able to interpret what the plant is telling you, and that's what we do in our class. We go through 10 different tastes. So there are 10 different tastes of a herb and texture. There are 10 different tastes that herbs have that tell you what its medicinal use is. That is what you need to learn. Then you need to learn the state that the tissue is in, and you have to be able to match that successfully. That is what will bring healing and wholeness. And so that is what indigenous medicine is about. That is what our ancestors were able to do using the six senses, not only the sense of tasting and so on, but the sixth sense, which is the sense of intuition that we develop as we learn to trust Mother Nature. As Mother Nature sees that you trust her, she conveys more to you. All of what I'm saying, I didn't learn this in a textbook. Mother Nature just taught me. All of what I'm saying to you, nobody sat me down and taught me. No teacher taught me. No school didn't teach me this. I sat at the feet of Mother Nature, and she taught me all of what I'm saying to you. And I've been able to apply it, and I've been able to see phenomenal, successful results. So that is what I want to say to you. Being able to tap into the sixth sense, to be able to understand what Mother Nature is saying to you. It's nearly 50 minutes, and I want to share with you some plans. But I don't know if what I said had any wisdom in it, but as I spoke about the fear, the last time I said I was defending Mother Nature. And I was talking from the perspective of plants. And this morning I felt led to defend Mother Nature again from the perspective of learning to interpret what the body is saying to you. All right. And so the fear that you have for cancer, none of these labels exist. So inside the body, there's no cancer, there's no diabetes, there's no herpes, there's no gonorrhea, there's no syphilis, there's no, none of these labels exist inside the body. So the body will not say, hey, this is a great cancer, or this is a simple cold. Doesn't exist. These labels don't exist. What the body sees is just blockages and imbalances. Blockages and imbalances. And once you're able to remove the blockages and correct the imbalances, then the body goes to work and heal itself. It's as simple as it is. So the skill now is being able to tune in to Mother Nature to learn how to do that. All right. So let's go and look at some plants. This morning I'm in my, and I wanted to show you Mahat. Good morning, Mahat. This morning I wanted to show. So when a person comes to me, that is what I do. I understand that there are 12 major systems that governs the body. My first goal is to find out which of those systems is the weakest system. Because a person comes to you with multiple ailments. You can't, when we put a person on one machine and to look at what's happening with them, we're going to see a multiplicity of issues. The goal is not to treat all of them or to resolve all of them. The goal is to find the weakest system, support the weakest system usually, and the body begins to resolve the other issues. So, there's a number of things to learn, but, once you learn these simple principles, guys, I promise you, healing becomes so natural, and I simply enjoy just watching the body heal. I really enjoy that. Now I have a few minutes on the two plants that I want to look at. One of them is this one, the Western ironweed. Western ironweed. Oh, you want to know the medicinal? I'm gonna talk about that a little while. Western ironweed, and this is a plant that is, if you're in Jamaica, you see this plant. It's very good for the liver, especially the root, and it's very good for the blood. So it makes an excellent tonic. It's slightly bitter, and there's a lot of it here on our property. We have lots, so that's it. All those little shrubs that you see coming up, that's the Western ironweed. So I've made nearly every herb that is on my property. Not nearly every herb that is on my property. I've done an audit, so I've written down the names and I have them in a book. So all the medicines in my pharmacy, I've documented them. All of these plants that you're seeing. One of the reasons why I can go through and show them is because I've done an audit of them. So I recorded every single medicine in my pharmacy. And in our Telegram group, that's what we want to do. Don't focus on trying to record the medicines in my pharmacy. Focus on recording the medicines in your pharmacy, because if you get sick, you're going to need access to the medicine at its quickest time. It's going to be far quicker to get the ones in your pharmacy than to get the ones in mine. The second herb I want to look at is the red tasselhead. This is called redhead gal in Jamaica. Red tasselhead. And if you can see it, hold on. Red tasselhead. It's one of the ways that you know it. Red tasselhead. The leaves kind of look like a lettuce. But this is a herb that is excellent for expelling the placenta. For women who have birth, this herb is excellent for getting rid of that. It's also helpful for belly ache, stomach ache. It also helps with viral infection. Red tasselhead. So you can dry it and you can make it into a tea. So typically when a woman goes into labor after having baby, you can get this herb and you can make a tea from it, and it helps with expelling anything out of the uterus, placenta and all. I see Medina here. I see so many other flowers, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So these are two plants that I want to look at, the red tassel head, and its medicinal use. The leaves are used, so we dry the leaves, and we make it into a tea. All right, we dry the leaves and we make it into a tea. It's also good for snake bites. All right, this is how it's propagated. So these seeds, when it's full, the seeds, they turn white and then they become airborne like this, and they can grow. So again, guys, the fact that it has a red flower based on nature's coding system, color coding system, what is that telling you? Anybody remember? Nature's color coding system tells us that most herbs that produce a red flower actually is good for the blood. Right? Most herbs that produce a yellow flower, like this one, hold on, is actually good for the urinary tract system. Most herbs that produce a purple flower, if you can find a purple flower, is loaded with iron and also have high levels of potassium in it. All right? So this is the red tassel head and the western ironweed. I also see the guaco. The guaco. Now, this is guaco. Now, one thing about guaco is a coverage herb. Look at the leaves. Guaco is a coverage herb. So if you allow guaco to grow wild, it covers other plants. That's an indication that guaco is good for the skin because our covering is our skin. All right? It's guaco. And it's excellent for the blood, but it's also excellent in cleaning, in cleansing the skin. So I want you now to look up red tassel head, and I want you to look up the western ironweed. Well, if you want to, you can look them up. But what I want you to do is does dandelion grow in Jamaica? Yeah, dandelion does grow in Jamaica. Dandelion grows, hold on. Dandelion mostly grows at a high altitude. So you're going to find dandelion in areas like in Mandeville, Mandeville, Christiana, those regions. It grows at a high elevation, doesn't grow at low elevation. All right. Anyway, you find herbs like English plantain. All right, that's where you're gonna find dandelion. So I've seen it here. It grows here in Jamaica, but I noticed that it doesn't grow in every climate of Jamaica. It grows in special climates of Jamaica. All right, guys, my 60 minutes is almost coming to an end. Boy, there are some mornings when I don't get that download from nature, and so I have to get the content for 60 minutes, and then there are other times when it's just there, it's just flowing because I'm trying to go so fast, but maybe tomorrow I can pick it up if that's what you would want me to, because I'd love to talk more about the interpreting the body, because there is such a powerful wisdom in that and so important to healing. A lot of persons who do herbs, they may know the herbs, but they are not able to match it to the crisis state that the tissue is in correctly. And there's a lot of persons who are very good at identifying the tissue state, the crisis state that the tissue is in, especially if they go to school and they have the sciences, but they're not able to match it properly to the medicinal herb. So I'm going to talk some more about that tomorrow. Guys, I want to thank you for being on. If you're watching for the first time, there is a link in the description to join our Telegram community, Kinder Wellness Community. Also, I don't know if you know, I don't hear anybody asking, but there's a chart that I intend to create. I've started, but I haven't finished it. That is based on the 12 medicinal state. All right, hey Monica, difference in plant. And that 12 tissue state, that 12 medicinal taste, it basically helps you. So, once I do that chart, it's going to be much easier for you to follow me. Also, for those persons who are joining our Telegram group for the first time, there's an assignment in the Telegram group. It's pinned, so you just need to look at it. Again, I want to thank you for joining me, guys. Tomorrow I'll be in St. Thomas. Hopefully, I should be in a compound. That's the maroon state of a compound this weekend. And there are some herbs there that I don't see down here. So it's going to be interesting to look at that. I'm hoping that I can be there tomorrow or for the weekend. Again, thank you for watching. It was a fun and it was a pleasure being with you guys this morning. And I hope to see you in our Telegram group. So until tomorrow morning, guys, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.